Service. What a word with such noble connotations. Since the advent of modern times, humans have mustered their efforts to build a better world for tomorrow. Whether that be in our duty as citizens to vote, to NGOs working tirelessly to deliver aid, we are all called to put in a little effort to help our community. Now, I'm not here to convince you to perform acts of service. Many schools already give academic credit for it, and many folks before me have touted the benefits. Today, I'm here to tell you what continues after you put away your gloves, cleaned up everything, and go home. You see, your service continues even after you're done. Besides directly helping others, you create ripple effects that inspire, bridge gaps, and foster partnerships. These things will push someone to serve their community, go outside their comfort zone, and continue to build a better future. A big chunk of my service was done at the state level. I served on the Arizona Governor's Youth Commission, which we also call the GYC. At the GYC, I was responsible for creating statewide service projects and even led the commission as vice president in my final year. I joined the commission in 2020, and I authored 2 reports on the state of youth mental health, and I worked closely with the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family. I was privileged to work with many talented and compassionate civil servants during that time, but I remember one that inspired me early in my career at the commission. His name was Garcia. He was a young, driven public servant who had served on the Arizona Board of Regents and was then working in the office of the governor. He had no shortage of cool stories to tell, and the fact that he had come from Tucson and even graduated from the same high school I did sent me a quiet message that I could be like him. Truthfully, I want to be like him. He's part of why I continued to serve long after he left, because he was a living example of someone like me that could make a difference. So even after Mr. Garcia turned in his badge and concluded his service at the governor's office, his memory still inspires me. And soon enough, there might be someone who I inspired in the places that I've been. Next thing you know, a whole line of people decide to serve because of one person's example. Try to be that example, that role model that people can see and realize that service is for them too. In fact, VNA impacted me so much so that I bought the same crisp blue suit I saw him wear once. What can I say? It looks cool. I got to wear that suit when I presented my reports on the state of youth mental health to the Arizona House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Teen Mental Health. Whew, what a mouthful. Oftentimes, we encounter gaps wherever we serve, whether racial, socioeconomic, cultural, or even political. In my case, it was an age gap. This clip shows you that gap perfectly.
So, what do you think is the advice that we need to hear?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, again, I'll just echo most of the information that I've mentioned already. I think if I had to put it in 2 words, not Facebook, for one.
Okay, boomer.
Despite the age gap, we wanted to work together to address youth mental health challenges in Arizona. So we didn't let an age gap separate us. A bridge, like a common goal, paired with effective communication, sets you up to create a solution. It's easier to build something when everyone's on the same page. Next time you encounter a gap, remember why you're working together, even if they insist on posting stuff to Facebook. Now, when you think of service, you probably imagine some stock photo of people shaking hands, a group of people with matching t-shirts smiling, or whatever some AI decides to generate, like this picture above me. These hands may not look accurate, but what they depict is partnerships. A few months ago, some GYC commissioners launched a hygiene product drive to benefit domestic violence shelters. It was a part of their work group's project, and it was implied that this was going to happen statewide. The thing is, that work group only has about 10 members, most of them being in Maricopa County. So how do you adapt this drive to be statewide? How would you make it fair? It wouldn't be fair if the resources from Flagstaff went to Phoenix, right? Partnerships were critical from the start. Ultimately, they decided to reach out to their local domestic violence shelters to ask what they needed. That way, the community they were in benefited from their own efforts. That was the first essential partnership. When I heard about this project, I decided to take it upon myself to bring the drive to Tucson. That's a second partnership. I went to grocery stores to set up donation boxes. I emailed corporate offices to see if they let me expand the drive to their stores. And as I was doing this, the other commissioners were also reaching out and creating partnerships with local businesses and groups to bolster their collection effort. Soon enough, we created this network of partnerships all across the state. And I guess my boxes in Tucson weren't decorated enough, so they disappeared. As a result, I pivoted and established a partnership with my high school. That's the third partnership. I created a deal where students would be credited with service hours for academic credit if they brought in items for this drive. Well, just that high school box alone managed to raise $2.6 thousand in donations. So those donations ended up benefiting a local Tucson-based shelter. So we went from this idea, which was started by commissioners in the GYC, which then reached out to work with partners across the state, inspiring me to bring it to Tucson, which then forged the partnerships even further at the local level. It took us more than 3 partnerships to make this happen, and we worked together every step of the way. Once the drive was over, those partnerships remained, because now that you know people, you have a social infrastructure that is open to serve. We basically assembled the Avengers, and you bet we'll call them again when we need them. Don't be afraid to send that email to ask for help. Send an email to a nonprofit or even your school. The worst they can say is no. When you perform acts of service, you create byproducts that continue to impact your community. By being present, you can inspire future generations. By talking with someone who isn't like you can break down barriers. By sending an email, you can partner to make the impossible happen. All of these things continue the cycle of civic engagement. My role model, the State House presentation, and the donation drive continue to impact me and so many others. After all, service is an important part of our civic life, and as we battle the challenges of our times, we must remember the meaning of service.